welcome back to our video Bible camp for today, Wednesday, day 3, the midpoint of our camp. We've got 2 more days ahead of us and we've had 2 behind us, but we're going to keep doing some amazing stuff right here today. And speaking of those days that we've already covered, God's given us a lot of different ways through those stories, ways that we are challenged to be fearless. Like for instance from Monday's story, where we learn from Joseph that God can bring good out of even very bad situations. And yesterday's story from Elijah, that we need to really be listening to God, especially in difficult times, so that through prayer God can speak to us and give us the strength and courage that we need in order to be fearless. And today's story is going to continue what we've already been learning, with our main character, Daniel, being put in a pretty dangerous and scary situation. But Daniel in his heart has a great love for God and a great trust that God is able to work through even dangerous situations to keep him safe. And so we're going to hand it over to Paper Puppet Alex in the Paper Puppet Theater to learn our story for today. Hey, welcome back everyone! Our first story this week gave us the idea that God can bring good out of bad when we have faith in Him. And our second story taught us a very important way to keep and grow our faith in God. We have to listen to Him even in difficult times. And today we're going to see how those all come together and how God wants to keep us safe through it all, so that we have no need to be afraid and instead we can be fearless. Today's story takes place many hundreds of years after Elijah and is about a man named Daniel. Daniel served a king named Darius, and he was the wisest and most capable person in King Darius's court. King Darius ruled over a kingdom where most people didn't worship God, but Daniel was one of God's faithful in this kingdom, and God blessed Daniel greatly. But all the other advisors in King Darius's court were jealous of Daniel, and they wanted to find a way to accuse him of wrongdoing to get him out of the picture. But Daniel was a good man, and did his job very well, so the jealous advisors really couldn't find anything to blame him for. So one day, one of the wicked advisors said to the others, "Listen, Daniel's too much of a goody two-shoes to do anything actually wrong. So what if we convince the king to make a law that Daniel would have to break? After all, Daniel prays to his God every day, so if we made it illegal to do that, then Daniel would be gone in a jiffy." All the other advisors thought this was a great plan, and so they took that plan and went to the king. "King Darius, we have an idea. You are the wisest and bestest king in all of history. We want everyone in your kingdom to know that, so we have come up with a law for you to pass. No one in this kingdom for an entire month should pray to anything, any god, any man, anything except for you. And anyone found breaking this law should be thrown into the lion's den as a warning to others." Well, I don't see the harm in the plan. It shouldn't be too hard for people to follow this law. Sure, I declare your idea to be a law of the kingdom for the next month. When Daniel heard about the law that Darius had made, he didn't stop his prayers to God. Instead, he continued to pray to the Lord just as he'd always done, 3 times every day, praising God, thanking God, and just talking to God as he'd always done. The jealous advisors began to spy on Daniel, and quickly caught him in his house while he was praying to God. So they went to the king and accused Daniel of breaking the new law. "King Darius, wisest and greatest of kings, we have some very bad news for you." "Oh, what news do you bring?" "Daniel, your loyal servant, is not so loyal after all. He has broken the law that says all people of the kingdom must pray only to you during this month. Instead, he continues to pray to his God, and he does it not once, not twice, but 3 times a day. For such a violation of the law, he must be punished as an example to others who would disobey you, O great king." Now Darius loved Daniel a great deal, and if he could have, he would have changed the law right then and there, but in his kingdom, not even a king could undo the law once it was written down. So in this moment, he saw through the wicked advisor's plan, but he couldn't do anything to stop it. So sadly, he gave the order to have Daniel arrested and thrown into the lion's den. When Daniel was brought to the room with the lions, the king said to him,
Daniel, my friend, I am so sorry this has happened to you. I ask that the God you serve may protect you tonight and keep you safe from the lions.
After the king apologized, the door was locked and Daniel was face to face with several hungry lions. That night, the king left and went to his room, fasting, refusing to eat, and refusing to rest even out of worry for his friend. Early the next morning, the king ran down to the locked lion's den and cried out,
Daniel, my friend, has your God saved you from the wrath of the lions?
And 1 second went by, and another second went by, and then one more. And just as Darius was about to give up hope, he heard the voice of his friend Daniel saying to him through the doors of the prison,
Good morning, my king. Yes, I am alive and well, for God last night sent an angel to close the mouths of the lions, and they didn't hurt me or even touch me all night.
The king was very happy that Daniel was safe and had him immediately released from the lion's den. And the king was very amazed at Daniel's faith and at the power of God who protected him. Then the king turned to the wicked advisors who had tricked him and tried to have Daniel killed.
You scheming wicked men! You have acted out of your jealousy and tried to harm someone innocent. How dare you stand in my presence? Guards, throw them to the lions. Let us see if they will be there come tomorrow morning.
And so the wicked advisors were gathered up and tossed into the lion's den, and before they even hit the ground, the lions pounced on them and ate them up. Well, that is quite a story we had today. Daniel was put in a position where he had to choose between his faith in God and his own safety. And when he chose to remain faithful to God, God didn't let him down, but instead kept him very safe in a very scary place. Daniel's faith allowed him to have the courage of a lion, even in a room full of, real, actual lions. Daniel trusted in God, and God came through for him. And God wants to do the same for us too. We're probably never gonna go up against a room full of real lions. But when we find ourselves in a situation that's over our heads or we're just scared and don't know how to handle it, handing it over to God can help us through it and keep us safe in the meantime. That is some very good news, and now it's back to you, regular Alex. Well, that definitely is an amazing story, and, I'm a cat person and everything, but I would not want to spend a whole night in a room with two big cats like that. But Daniel was able to do that because of his great love for God, his great trust in God, and God's ability to protect us even in scary situations. That's why Daniel was able to be fearless. But one thing we should also take away from Daniel's story is that we don't need to go looking for dangerous or scary situations. Jesus says elsewhere in the Bible that a day is enough trouble for itself. And what he means by that is each day is going to bring its own problems. You do not have to go looking for it or make your own, right? We don't want to make our own trouble. We don't want to make our own danger. But we do want to trust that when we find ourselves afraid, when we find ourselves in a situation that we need some help, we need some strength, we need some courage, we need to be fearless. That God is going to be there to provide those things for us. And our memory verse today is a very short and simple way to keep that trust right on the front of our head and right in the center of our hearts. So I'm going to bring this down over here. It's a very short verse today, comes from Psalm 118, and it says this: With the Lord on my side, I do not fear. Let's read that one more time. With the Lord on my side, I do not fear. That's about as simple as I think we can make all the stuff we're trying to learn this week, right? When God's on our side, there is nothing we have to worry about because there's nothing that God has to worry about. God is able to keep us safe. God is able to keep us strong. God is able to keep us in a place where we can be fearless. Look, I know we're roaring a lot today, but today is the day that is literally all about lions, so we're gonna be roaring our heads off. And speaking of roaring, I know Alexandra the artiste is roaring to go with our craft for today, so Alexandra, the floor is yours.
Bienvenue once again, mes amis, to our artistic studio. We are very excited to be back once again with a reminder of the courage that God wishes us to have. And our reminder, our souvenir, our craft for today is the following. Rawr! Very exciting, I know. And so, what we will be needing to make the lion's face, the lion's mask, is the following. As you have seen before, down underneath the video, there is a link to a template that you can print out and cut out for yourself at home. This template, however, is 2 pages. So you have the one face with the lion's mask and the other with a number of rectangles that will help you to create the mane of the lion. So you will require that printout. You will require a glue stick. You will require scissors, a pencil. You will require a paper plate. I have purchased these yellow ones in order to capture the essence of the lion, the color, the beauty, the power. So you will require paper plates. They do not have to be yellow, but I have purchased yellow ones in order to make this a little more professional. You will also require, if you are not printing off this with the rectangles, one thing that can also be helpful is if you acquire construction paper of different colors. I have brown, yellow, and orange here. This can also be cut into strips in order to make the mane of the lion as you wish to do. You will also require, as always, your artistic medium, crayons, markers, paints, colored pencils, whatever you wish. You are the artiste. And so, how do we make our craft? Well, today's is a little more involved than perhaps some of the other ones that we have done before. Now, the first thing that you are going to want to do is take your lion mask here and color it in as you wish. And again, I leave that to your own artistic discretion. The next thing you are going to want to do, however, is cut out along the edges of the lion to cut out the face like this. Et voila! So we have the lion cut out here, but you will notice that it is not quite a mask, because if I hold this up to my face, I cannot see through it. I am looking into the back of a piece of paper. So what you will require is an adult at this point in order to help you, because you're going to take your pencil and with an adult, as an adult to do this for you, poke a small hole through the eye on one side and do the same for the other side. There we go. And you will have your scissors to cut out, starting from the center, going around the circle of the eye so that you will have eyeballs to see out of the lion mask, like so. And there we go. Now I can see out of the lion. But this is not the whole project. You will also require your paper plate. So what I suggest we do at this moment is take your lion mask, lay it on the paper plate where you wish the lion mask to eventually be placed, and with your pencil, trace the outline of the eyeballs that you have on the paper plate, like so. Hopefully you can see a little bit where I have placed the circles on the paper plate so that we know where the eyes of the mask are going to go. And once again, at this point, you will require an adult to help you, because the adult is once again going to take the pencil and poke it through the center of the holes that you have drawn, the circles rather, that you have drawn on the paper plate, like so. That is one hole, as you see right there. And the second eyeball, a second hole, like so. 2 holes right there, where the eyes will eventually go. And do the same thing as you did with your paper mask with the scissors. Cut out the circles that you have drawn, using the hole as a starting point to help you. So, we begin. And there you go. And do not be afraid, boys and girls, if your edges look a little rough like that, because eventually we will place the mask over it and it will cover it up and look just fine anyway. So, the next thing that you are going to do is, if you have printed this out and would like to use this for your mane, you will need to color in each of these using the colors that you wish. Yellow, brown, orange, or whatever color you would like. If you want your lion to have pink hair, your lion can have pink hair and look amazing doing it. I have already pre-cut a number of these small pieces of construction paper, which I am going to use to create my lion's mane. In order to do this, we take our paper plate and in small increments with the glue stick, place the glue, draw the glue around the edge of the plate. Do not put the circle all at once, because that will start to get sticky as you start to turn the plate around, and we do not want to have glue all over our hands or all over our workspace. So we are going to assemble the glue around the plate and place our main strips along it. So, let us begin. And voila, I have my lion's mane. Now, when you do this, you want to let it sit for a minute or two just so the glue gets a firm grip on your mane. And you can do this however you wish in terms of the colors, the pattern, as I said before. The next thing that you are going to want to do is take your lion's face, which, as I said at the start, should be colored first before you cut it out. But if you have not, I would take the opportunity to color it now. As always, I will let you decide what colors it should be, so I am not going to color mine because I do not want to influence your artistic choices. So, you take the glue stick, and having put a generous coating of glue on the back of your lion face, you take it and line it up. Make sure that you line up the holes in the lion face with the holes that you have already cut on your paper plate, so that you will be able to see outside of the mask. And then just gently press it down so that it gets a nice firm grip on the plate, as I have done here. Now, we have this almost completely finished. The only other things that we need is a stick in order to have it held up like this. So you can take your stick. If you still have glue, you may use glue to attach the stick to the back. I would again let it sit for a little bit, or you can simply use tape in order to attach the stick to the back of the mask. What I recommend is on the back of the mask, you want to basically put the stick right between the two eyes with a stick long enough that you can hold it down below. So I will do that for us right now. And I will flip this over so that I can give it a good firm press so that the glue has a chance to set and to grip. And while we are waiting here, boys and girls, I would like to remind you that in the story today, the lions very much seem to be kind of the bad guys. Well, I guess the bad guys were the evil advisors who wanted to get Daniel killed by the lions. But we must remember, boys and girls, that lions are also a symbol of courage. Lions are a symbol of bravery, of strength, and of power. And I would remind you as well, boys and girls, that elsewhere in the Bible, lions is a term used for Jesus. Jesus is referred to as the Lion of Judah, the one who will protect God's people from danger, from sin, from evil, and who will keep them safe as part of God's plan for all of us. And so, do not be afraid or think that with our masks we are going to be the bad guys in the story. No. We are representing the courage that God wishes us to have, and we are representing the fact that we are all supposed to be like Jesus. We all should be courageous. We all should protect people who need to be protected, and we should all have the bravery to do the right thing even when it is hard, just like Daniel did in the story today. So, I think our glue has set enough on our lion down here, and with our craft completely finished, I will hand you back over to Alex so that we can continue our camp for today. Rawr!
That is a definitely cool mask, and I hope that you all enjoyed putting it together. In fact, today's about lions, today's about roaring. Let's all grab our masks, put them right up to our face, and on the count of 3, let's give the loudest, largest lion's roar that we possibly can, okay? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good, eh? So, let us continue on for today. We do have our memory verse. This is take number 2, so there are going to be some words missing. Let's bring that back down over here. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. See if you can, again, from memory, fill in the words that are missing and do the whole verse as it should be done. Alright, and let's see how you did. Let's bring down the full real verse here. And again, see how well you did. Did you do better than yesterday? A little bit worse than yesterday? About the same as yesterday? Did you ace it? We'll have to see later on, because I'm going to move this out of the way, because it's going to come back one more time for your full memory test here. But we're going to be moving on to our science lab today. And Dr. von Alekstein has been trying to figure out a way to help us learn how important it is that small things can make big differences when it comes to protection, when it comes to keeping us safe, in the same way that our little bit of trust in God can keep us very, very safe from things that are scary or dangerous to us. So, Dr. von Alekstein, protect away.
Danke, Herr Alex, und willkommen to you, mein Kinder, to our laboratory for today. You know, today, from our friend the puppet, we heard the story of Daniel in the lion's den. A story where God protected Daniel from a very dangerous situation. And so I figured, being the mad scientist that I am, why don't we keep something very delicate safe from something very dangerous? So, what we are going to do, what we are going to need is this. First of all, we are going to need a tissue. A tissue is not a very strong thing at all. In fact, with this tissue, it's very easy to just... and the tissue is no more. So tissues are not known for their durability. Tissues are not known for being strong or able to withstand a lot of damage. But we are going to give the tissue a fighting chance. So, the first thing you will need is either a toilet paper tube or a paper towel tube. Either one works. I'm going to use the toilet paper tube because my nemesis weapon, the butt of the ice cream scoop, will not fit down the toilet paper tube. Will not fit down the paper towel tube. It will fit down the toilet paper tube. So, if you're using something longer, like the butt of a ladle, you could probably get by with the paper towel tube. And speaking of weapons of choice, you will want something that has a rounded edge on the butt of it. So you see my ladle has a rounded edge, you see my ice cream scoop has a rounded edge. We do not want to use, for example, a knife or something like that. Okay? So we are going to use the toilet paper tube and the ice cream scoop for our experiment. So what we are going to do is this. Take your toilet paper tube and take a tissue. You could also, if you don't have any tissues lying around, you could use an actual piece of paper towel as well. It will work just as well. So, we will first take our tissue and put it over the top of the toilet paper tube and with an elastic attach the tissue to the toilet paper tube. However, this is not a terribly effective defense for our tissue. For example, let me show you. All scientists require proof, and I will give you, my scientist friends, the proof that you need. Watch. Not terribly successful. So, we must go back to the drawing board. Putting it around the tube is not going to do anything. So I will get rid of this tissue, rest in peace, and we will get a new one. So there we go. And place it over. So what we need, boys and girls, in the same way that Daniel needed the angel in the lion's den, we need something to protect the tissue from the butt of the ice cream scoop. And what we are going to use is something that you can get a hand of very easily. We are going to use salt. We are going to use quite a bit of salt, actually. Now, the amount you're going to want to use is about 1/2 to 2/3 of a cup. And I have very intelligently measured this out in a measuring cup earlier today for you right now. And what you're going to do is take your measuring cup and with the mouth of it, pour it into the toilet paper tube that you have elastic your tissue to. There we go. We have a lot of salt in our toilet paper tube. What this looks like in your tube is almost to the top full, just so you know when you are doing this at home. It will not look the same if you use a larger tube because there is more tube to fill up. Do not fill up the entirety of the paper towel tube. That is way too much salt and you are just wasting it at that point. So, we have our ice cream scoop, we have all of our salt, and we have our threatened, dangered tissue and the dangerous attack of the ice cream scoop. Let us now see what happens with all of the salt in the tube. Let me try again. Well, I am succeeding at making a mess, but I am not succeeding at attacking the tissue at the bottom of the toilet paper tube. So why is this? Well, being scientists, we must know that the only difference between our first test and our second test is the salt. And so what is the salt doing? Well, if you look at salt, perhaps if you pull a little bit out while you're doing this experiment, you'll notice that salt is very, very tiny crystals, very, very tiny shapes that together, when we pour them into the tube, while there is a lot of them, there's also a bit of space between each one. And when we take the ice cream scoop and push into the toilet paper tube, the salt absorbs most of the energy that we are pushing into it with the ice cream scoop. And that energy is going into the other salt crystals, that energy is going into the wall of the tube itself. But one place it is not going, boys and girls, is into the tissue to tear it. So all of these very tiny things, these very tiny pieces of salt, working together, help to keep the tissue safe from the danger of the butt of the ice cream scoop. And in our world today, that is very much like what we are asked to do in order to make sure we keep other people safe in the world around us. This is why people are asked to keep space apart from each other. This is why people are asked to wear masks over their face when they are outside, so that the small actions that we do, the little tiny pieces of salt that we put into the world, if we speak metaphorically, of course, we are not actually throwing salt around at people. But those little tiny actions can take something dangerous, a situation where somebody might get sick, and not let that happen. The ice cream scoop cannot reach the tissue. In the same way that the angel prevented the lions from being able to hurt Daniel. And you might be an angel to somebody else if you take those precautions, those advisements, those guidelines seriously in our world today. And so I encourage you to do that so you keep dangerous situations to a minimum, and so that you keep people who could be hurt by them safe. You can be salt in a tube. You can be an angel for somebody else. That is a very interesting conclusion we have come to today. And with that conclusion, I'm going to hand it back over to Herr Alex for our next segment.
Well, here we are at the end of one more day of Video Bible Camp here. I hope you have had a wonderful time with us today. Hope you've enjoyed our story. Hope you've enjoyed making your lion mask with Alexandra over there. And I do hope as well you've enjoyed defending tissues with Doc von Alexstein. I don't think any of us expected to be doing that when we got out of bed this morning, but here we are, you know? But I hope in all of those different things, our story, our craft, our science activity, that you have found another way that God is calling you to be fearless. Whether that's doing small things, whether that's doing courageous things, whether that's giving your heart over to God when you are worried or scared or nervous about something. You know, there are all different types of ways we can express our fearlessness so that God can keep us safe. And let's go back to our memory verse here today one last time and bring it down right over here. And again, no words at the moment, so I want to see how well you do looking at this. And again, from your head, see if you can remember the words of our memory verse for today. All right, and how well did you do? Let's bring down the full words here and check yourself. How well did you do? Better than yesterday? A little bit worse? About the same? Did you ace it? Hopefully so, because this is a great verse. I can think of no better tagline for what we've been doing this whole week than these words right over here on the screen. And God already came up with them for me, so I think He knows what He's doing. I think we have a lot of good reasons to be fearless. And if you'll join me before we finish up here today, reading it one last time, and reading it with not only our mouths, but also reading it with our hearts today. So let's read over here one last time. With the Lord on my side, I do not fear. Again, probably some of the best words that we could walk out of this week with. And speaking of this week, we are going to be back tomorrow, Thursday at 12 noon, with another video just for you. Our story tomorrow is going to definitely be about some fraidy cats. Some fraidy cats who found themselves on some rough seas, and God's presence bringing them through that situation in a way that they could have never imagined. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow at noon, and until then, God bless, and we look forward to seeing you then.